All right, so today's video is going to be about VR headsets and how they're setting up a kind of logic when it comes to the online church that I think needs to be grappled with. What it really boils down to is that what you're seeing when it comes to virtual reality headsets, like the Oculus Rift or the ones that you can put your cell phones into, strapped to your face, with integrated audio, all that kind of stuff. These virtual reality systems are not what they are being portrayed as. What they're being portrayed as is this way to get into a virtual space. This is why I really make a case that the internet, and especially how the church is viewing the internet and using the internet, has to be understood as a thing, not a place, because the technology currently doesn't exist for you to enter into a virtual space that really does kind of take you from where you are in your physical space out in a meaningful way to this virtual space. When we talk about virtual reality, you almost always have to like reference science fiction, because real virtual reality doesn't exist. When we think about movies like The Matrix, The Matrix did a great job of trying to explain what the problems and kind of circumstances of a real virtual reality, including the tyrannical aspects of a virtual reality. What those would be and how they would exist and how humans would interact with them, that kind of stuff. What you have in The Matrix is the description that the mind is nothing more than like a program, or it can be constituted as a program. And so the machines in that movie enslave people by taking their mind out of their body and using their body to generate energy for the machines. And they enslave the body by putting them into this virtual reality, the Matrix, where they're basically just kind of like put into a life that's so real they can't tell that it's not real. And to an extent, that is actually a place. What they're doing is taking the consciousness, or anything that you are, the you that exists, and it's being removed out into this other place. And in The Matrix, it's described in, I think, a valid way, that if that were possible, if the you that was you separated from your body and entered into the Matrix, via hardware in your head and stuff like that, if that you was killed or terminated or destroyed in the Matrix, that the body dies because the last tether of self, because you can't separate mind from body 100%, dies. This is why certain people die when they're killed in the Matrix. This is why you get injured. Your body feels the injury even though that your mind happened in the Matrix. They kind of do a good job of explaining to it. But you get this interesting scene where Neo, the main character, goes to meet a computer program who doesn't have a body in the Matrix, whose only viability is the fact that they exist in the Matrix and they kind of move around inside this virtual space. And they meet a child who is has a human body somewhere in the enslavement of the Matrix's hardware, where they have these bodies that they're using the minds out of, that kind of stuff. And he talks about this classic line where the child is looking at a spoon and is able to seemingly bend it with their mind. And the child says, do not try to bend the spoon. That is impossible. Instead, realize the truth. And then what is the truth? There is no spoon. It's this classic line in the movie to describe why Neo gets his powers, because he realized that there is no space, there is no Matrix, there is no spoon to speak of. This is all just happening kind of in his mind, or rather his mind is happening to the other minds that are happening and whatnot. And that's not what we have with the virtual reality church. When you talk about a church that's in the metaverse or alt space, or churches where you're putting on a headset and you're putting on headphones and you're sitting still or with a controller and you're entering into this space, that's not what's happening. You're not doing what virtual reality has been, explained to us through popular culture or in, real life. It's kind of like a facsimile of that. What's happening when you put on a headset is you're putting on earphones that are going to transmit sounds, or at least the approximation of those sounds, through the headphones that you're willing to accept as valid, given people's voices. Like that's the first layer. And the second layer is you're putting on twin TVs that are so close to your eyes that when you focus, it creates a conjoined image that mimics three-dimensional space, even though it's two-dimensional spaces being put so close to your eyes that it's basically glasses like this. That's what virtual reality actually is. It's not this place that you go to. It's this machine that's making you think that you're going to there. And you've seen this, 100 times. If you've seen people in these virtual reality spaces doing like the classic plank game, where they're walking out on a plank on a high-rise building, and it makes it look like they're so high up, and then they try and jump off the plank. They end up hitting a wall, and it's hilarious on YouTube and stuff like that. But the plank's not there. There might be a physical plank that they're using as some sort of tactile response, this tie to the physical room while they're doing that. But the plank's not there, and the height's not there, and the fall's not there, and everything that they're experiencing is not actually there. There is no spoon. And that's something that I think the VR church doesn't want to deal with, is that everything that they're projecting as this real experience that's causing you to feel things, that's causing you to feel that you're in a space with other Christians and that you're worshiping, all that kind of stuff is not actually there. It's being facsimulated. That's not a word. It's being made in facsimile to who you are and where you are as a person. And you get this interesting real life circumstance where you have people sitting in a room by themselves with their eyes covered and their ears plugged, thinking that they're in a room with other people with their eyes open and their ears surrounded by sound and worship music. You get this very real sense that you are exchanging the truth of your circumstance, where you're by yourself with technology, and I do think it is a lie, that you are in a room with people worshiping together. Those things are diametrically opposed because they can't both be true at the same time. They have the appearance of being true at the same time because of the technology that you have working on your body at the time. And it's not even just that, it's through the internet. It's just that this technology, you're not in the technology, in the virtual space. The technology is on you, and it's doing things to you. And it might be doing things to you while communicating with other devices that are on other people, doing things to them too, attached to a central device that's giving all the information for what the space looks like that you are seemingly in. But what's really happening is that the headset is on you and the earplugs are on you, and that's what's happening, that you are online, because that's how online works, that you are online. You are engaging with the technology, not engaging in the technology. And there's certain parts of the language that kind of hide this, that we use when we talk about internet, when we talk about online ministry, when we talk about online worship. But there's other stuff that doesn't. This is something that I make a distinction of, and something that I think is important, is that when you're especially dealing with VR churches, you are not in that space. That space is being put on top of you, that it is an object that you have to possess in order to mimic the space that you think that you're going into. Now, when we get to the point where it is, an actual virtual reality, when you're able to, upload your consciousness, and it's not something that's making your eyes think that it's in a space or making your ears think that you're in a space, when it's actually hijacking that consciousness and removing it from your body if it's possible, and putting it into an online space, like a joint online space somewhere else so that worship can happen, that is an entirely different conversation. But right now, what we have in the VR church is people who are exchanging the truth for the lie. They're exchanging the truth of them being alone with technology on their bodies for the lie that they are with people with technology facilitating it. And it's a dangerous place to be, because that logic and that circumstance, that way of thinking and that way of ignoring truths is only going to lead to bad places. And sin will ride that cart shotgun every day because it's just so easy. It is dangerous, and even though right now it seems to be facilitating good, because of the building blocks of it being such a shaky, unsure foundation. Without those things being acknowledged, because I think you can have meaningful experiences while using VR technology. I think that's 100% true, that you can have meaningful conversations, that you can have meaningful experiences, but what I don't think you can do is have actual worship if you're practicing what is essentially a sin. If you are practicing the lie that you are in a place when you are not in a place, and that is essential to the facilitation of your worship, then I don't think that worship is valid. And I think people are being tricked into this because of circumstance and because of what the technology seems to be able to do without actually having to wrestle with what the technology is actually doing. So next time you have to consider VR worship, or next time it crosses your feed or you hear about it or anything like that, remember that it is not a virtual space that you are going into. It's a virtual space. It's a virtual technology that is being placed onto you. That there is no spoon. That it does not exist, and it only exists because of what we're allowing to be exchanged for the truth. That, where you are and who you are with has to happen in real life. That it can't happen across these technologies because they don't actually allow what they say they're doing in real life. That it's just a TV close to your eyes and it's just headphones close to your ears. That's it. We'll talk to you later.